Beauty calls and gives no warning. Shadows rise and wander on the day. In the twilight, in the quiet evening.
Poem here today, and here, if I have, I apologize. If I haven't, I apologize for reading it now. I was wondering what would happen if God appeared in the form of Rodney Dangerfield. Do you remember Rodney Dangerfield with the tie and all of that? So anyway, this is Revelation with Rodney. Always be polite to ghosts, a good rule to follow. So I asked Rodney if he would like a beer. Name is God, he says, adjusting his tie, and I prefer scotch, if you don't mind. Would have thought God might have a better tie collection, I find myself thinking. Spilled water on it, he says, reading my mind, and turned it to wine by mistake, he laughs. Must be tough, I reply, having all that power. But how are things, in heaven? Not a bad gig, but Jerusalem was a mess. When I said, take my wife, please, they heard, take my life, please. You know the rest. However, I digress. Speaking of messes, my creation don't get no respect, he says, adjusting the tie once again. My commandments play to an empty house. So to make it a bit clearer, here's a revelation straight from God's mouth to your ear. Do not piss Mother Nature off. There will be hell to pay if you get my meaning. This whole show is going to shut down soon if you don't wake up, and that ain't no joke. Before I could speak, he dressed up and away. Take my life, please. Now that was good, he laughs to himself as he floats through the ceiling out of the room. Thank you.
This song was inspired by a book by Marilyn Robinson, who's a great thinker and a great fiction and nonfiction writer. My heart is just a carpet bag, threadbare, tired and worn, overfilled with heartaches since the day that I was born. Something that I carry as I go from town to town. I can find nowhere to lay it down. In Iowa, they know me as the pastor's troubled son, the oldest of children. I confounded everyone with hurtful games to thwart the love they freely offered me. I took their money, I stole their property, but I'm going back to Gilead. There's nothing here for me. I've heard that there's a balm down there that can set a slave soul free. I'm fed up with this life of sin. I'm going back for good. Lord, get me back to Gilead, just like you said you would. In Gilead, they'll all see what a fool I am. Back in Gilead, I will see my Father's eyes again. I can't ask them to forgive what I can't forgive myself. But there's nowhere left to turn, and I've got nobody else. I'm walking with a troubled mind down the county road, searching for the hometown of a man who has no home. I'm going back to Gilead, that's where I want to be. I've heard that there's a balm down there that can set a slave soul free. I'm fed up with this life of sin. I'm going back for good. Lord, take me back to Gilead, just like you said you would. In Thank you.
The last 4.5 months, I have been bouncing from all the different stages of grief. There's denial, and there's bargaining, and there's anger. I'm sure there's another one. I've written some poetry, and that's been very therapeutic. My husband of 31 years was mowing the lawn on June 1st, and he died of a heart attack. My 18-year-old son found him and tried to resuscitate him. And we have been, it was the day before my son's high school graduation. So there's been a lot of anger, a lot of denial, a lot of bargaining. And this poem, it turns out, as I'm sitting here looking at it, is the denial component of grief. It's called Triggers. And I've written a lot of poems, and I know this sounds crazy. I had another one to read, but this one came out yesterday, so I decided to read it. Triggers. I pulled into the driveway and saw your truck. Oh, good, you're home, I thought. Then I remembered you're gone. Sucker punch. I went back to the gym for the first time since you died. Do you want a Starbucks? I texted. Then I remembered. I folded over the steering wheel and wept. The neighbors delivered dinner to our big blue cooler sitting outside the back door for months. I hate that cooler. It's a perfectly good cooler, but I can't look at it. But now the meals have stopped. So I pulled into the parking lot of the grocery store, and I wonder, who do I shop for? It was never just me, not for 30 years. So I focus on the dog and I buy marrow bones. I slip one peach into my bag, one fillet of fish, one lime. They don't sell one English muffin, so I take a risk on 6. I can no longer blame you for all the dishes in the sink, the clothes laying about. They're all mine. Everything has become mine. This house with overflowing gutters, the water in the basement, the books, the furniture, the wood pile. You didn't take your guitar or your glasses or even the boots that you were wearing when your heart stopped. How are you ever going to survive without those? I will save them with your wallet, your underwear, and your shirts, just in case. Thank you.
So before I press any buttons, I got to acknowledge these are always incredible shows, but in particular, a couple of things really connected for me. Walnut's initial poem on cancer. I just came through a bout with stage 4 lymphoma, and I'm here. And in a sense, they don't say that you're in remission or until like 3 years, so Ken Sabe, who knows? And in relation to the mention, I think Megan and following with Cheryl talking about healing and being in the moment, that's what it's all about. It's like, who's worrying if it's going to come back, because it could be a high-powered ammo shell of some nut or a car by some drunk, We don't know. I write stuff, and some of it is ranting. And as of late, I do pay attention to what's happening, and it's bleeping insane. In this country, what we're doing to the planet, to the climate, and it's almost hard to write in relation to that, but this is a rant. And let me punch up some things here, and it accompanies, so I create music too, or soundtracks. In this case, it's just, let's see if it works. Come on, baby. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it just starts off, sometimes it goes with what I want to say. But I want to say this time, because never before in the history of anything have we been so deluded with an avalanche of dreams deferred, derailed, disregarded, all the while longing for an intermission, an intercession, a respite in the relentless churning, changing channels, never stopping at substance. Never before in the history of anywhere has where we stand been so questionable, conscribed, conditional on a deconstructing social compound. An insubstantial infrastructure of cultural norms until we take it outside. Ride that infrastructure to the end of artifice, where we can stand on solid ground and face a sunrise. Never before in the history of histories has polarities been so predominant. Curtain call or wake-up call. A stumbling species lurching in spasms of striving for dominance, or players in this game of existence, opting for a new game plan. Do we need a new paradigm? Consider this. What were we talking about? Echoes across countless conversations while millions across the globe face starvation? Or how about this? Try this one on for size, chirps a mannequin, stopping a shopper's momentum while flames engulf a low-rent high-rise in a part of town you do not go walking in after sunset. I rave. Thanks for putting up with me.
I brought a poem with me. about panhandlers. The panhandler's been around long as people have been around. This is a sampling of contemporary practitioners of the trade called Panhandler's Litany. Give all the bums a buck to ensure the worthy 1% will collect enough to journey through the night. Met this guy in a yin-yang shirt who said, the amount of evil in this world is equal to the amount of good. That's all the equality there is in this world. And I said, as I slipped this soothsayer a buck. A smiling mime with a cardboard sign that read, dare to live without a mirror. Got an I don't think so with his dollar. A raggedy woman with a sad-eyed doggy tucked under her arm received her buck with flair. A brazen teen demanding bus fare, when asked where she's going, smugly declared, astray, as I dropped a buck into her eager palm. A cool dude in a beret goes, spare some dough, bro? Well, that worked, and he got himself a buck. A young man in a vintage suit, walking along with me, spilling politics, got a buck to go away. A charming old lady in a floral bonnet winked as she slipped my buck into her velvet purse. A big man sitting on the sidewalk with a big cup, which he jingled towards me as I approached, received a donation that made no sound in his cup. A man with a cane held up his buck and exclaimed, this will buy food for my kitty. So I gave him another and implored him not to divulge its use. While stopped for a traffic light, I read this curious cardboard sign that asked, save the planet? What for? No one enjoys living here anymore. Still, my buck was snatched from my door. An indignant fellow hollering over and over, why is there a stop sign on every corner? Not just the perilous, but every corner. To my blank stare bemoaned, Mr. Hyde would know, as his trembling hand pocketed my dollar. Then a calm voice from beneath a fedora surmised, at least we got it right in the 50s, Jack. I mused as I paid him his due. Yes, give all the bums a buck to ensure the worthy 1% will collect enough to journey through the night. Thank you.
I emailed Cheryl last night and said, if I'm not on the open mic, maybe I just won't come. And she wrote back and said, oh, yes, you are. And I thought, well, I didn't know, but I think that the energy from today seeped into my evening last night. I did not know the theme was going to turn out to be loss and letting go. However, this is the poem I found when I went looking for a poem to bring. Someone seems to have keys to my house. The furniture in my basement is rearranged. All of the flat silver once belonging to my father's parents and so monogrammed is gone. Gone. Not sequestered in a safe hiding place in my house, because there are none, but just absent. Where was I? Who did I talk to? Who knew my belongings were being gradually uprooted in anticipation of a move? I have given that lovely silver house room for nearly 50 years. In my New York closets, later in a California garage, anyone could have entered, then in a Boston basement, and now bringing it to light from storage in the safe environs of Wellesley, Massachusetts, it has vanished. No sign of break-in, but the small stool in the front room next to my front door has been misplaced. I went to dinner at a friend's the night after the silver was gone. She knew nothing of my loss. Her table was carefully, beautifully set with all the categories of service I would never have again at call. Salad and dinner forks, teaspoons for coffee and dessert, soup spoons, butter knives, and incidental serving utensils. None necessary to a full and happy life. But someone has keys to my house. And I, moving home, I thought, from decades of adventures, find myself no longer safe. When you lose so many tangible memories, it's important to write them down. So I did. Good thing I still have my grandmother's engagement ring. I don't take it off. Thank you.
It's interesting that we don't really feel the effect of the war going on in the Middle East right now. But long ago, war was very sudden. This is called radio thrills. A 1940s living room, behind a stuffed chair in the corner, two preteens hunch on polished oak. A 4-foot-high Magnavox, a radio, in its shiny mahogany case nourishes their hungry minds. This corner coliseum dispenses a banquet of thievery and fights. They pirouette up the sound. Shouts whip in on the flag of their hero. Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy. The two descant with the barbershop. Have you tried Wheaties, the best breakfast food in the land? Jack deep growls to Betty and Billy to grab a motor for the airport. They arrive. Uncle Jim's office is being ransacked. Jack rushes the thief. They lash him with picture wire off the wall. At that moment, a voice megaphones over. We interrupt this program for a bulletin. Japanese planes have bombed Pearl Harbor. The country is at war. 4 awe-struck ears are thrilled. Their menu of blood and bash just added a new improbable dish. They pell to the kitchen to tell their mother. She wipes her cheeks on a dish towel. The younger asks, "Why is she crying?" The elder lifts her shoulders. It's a mystery. Thank you.
This is the Bach Fugue in A minor.
Freezes the sky, it is the season grieves, not you, not I. Oh, we have awakened sweet and had our birth, and that's the end of earth. And we have toiled and smiled and kept the light, and that's the end of night.